I'm Tony Bevan and I'm a painter. I've been working on two subjects really. There's these heads and another group called, what I call Epistrophies. This one behind me is just about finished. It's ready for cropping so that the branches, the structures actually run out. So you do get this flow from the bottom out to the canvas. So it'll be cropped in a way that all the forms run off the edge. And so that it's flowing. And these paintings are based on this image of a tree that I've been observing over winter, quite near where I live. It's some distance away from where I live, but you can see it maybe 100 metres away. And it's been quite amazing seeing the forms in this tree. And I thought, should I actually get nearer to it and find out where this is? But I think I grew to like the kind of distance from me to the tree. Took some photographs of the tree, but very difficult to photograph because it's such a distance and I didn't have any telephoto. I also did some drawings here, loosely based on those photographs. And so it's this one single tree. And the reason why I call them epistrophes is because that's about, for me, it's about returning and repeating. So it's taking the tree as a starting point and then travelling away from that starting point and then returning to that and travelling away. So there's a kind of almost like a series. So it's going and then returning and going and returning. And so there's a number of paintings, all of this one tree. They all look quite different, but it's the basically returning to this central form of a tree. You can see it almost in epistrophy in music terms. I think people know about epistrophes more in music, and particularly with Thelonious Monk talked about it, and that was really taking, I'm no jazz expert, but I think it's to do with taking swing jazz into bebop. So you'd have something that you'd actually know, and then you would go away from that and then return. So that's how kind of bebop became. So you go back to the origins and return to the origins and repeat. And it sounds a very simple thing to do, but it's incredibly complex to do that. But that thing of having something there and leaving it gives you immense sort of freedom, to be able to go, but you're still holding on to some particular form. It can be the form of a tree, but then you can be probably going into human elements, because some of these trees remind me too of earlier works I did, which were to do with, there's a painting where an arm just comes into the canvas, and it's very much, I can see that with these, that they're kind of very much kind of body issues of and flow patterns too, particularly when you see some of the movements radiating out of this form. So that's what I wanted in these, where it's a very tight cropping of this form, where it kind of had the flow out. So it was almost like when I was working on them, it did remind me of the vessels in my eye. When you go for the opticians for an eye check, and you do have this vision, there's a reflection in the back of your eye of this kind of these kind of vessels and nerves and everything. So they had that sort of feel about them, and they were done really painted with. I felt that red was right in this case. Sometimes it's kind of a cadmium orange, or I just had a feeling about wanting to use that particular colour with it to take it beyond a kind of certain. But again, to have this freedom to be able to work with something and then return back to its origins again. And the other subject I've been working with is heads. I've made over the last 50 years or so many self-portraits or heads, and I've used mainly myself as source for that, really, because I think it gives me particular freedom to be able to do to work with that particular form of the head. and not having to always look at appearance and likeness, and I was able to be much freer with the head. And I used to think of them more as self-portraits and title them as self-portraits, but it did provide a problem because the self-portrait people always see as a reflection and a portrayal of that particular person at that particular time, and that was not the thing I was working with. It was more to do with going in, using the head as a form, but working with inside, almost like what I call an internal landscape, and they weren't about, you know, a particular state of mind at one particular time. And when you're painting, you do work a lot with feeling. You don't question certain things. You might feel like, oh, this should be in this way or that way. Things happen as you're working, and it's like you're feeling your way along through the whole work process. I would never see myself as an illustrator. I don't start off with knowing exactly what I'm doing when I start and what I want in the final painting. It's more this working through these feelings and finding, again, it's almost like a journey with the act of painting and working with that particular subject.